Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but the Nintendo Switch is now 7 years old. It's been a bleeding long time, to say the least. And to celebrate, we're going to take you through what we believe to be the finest games that have come out in the Switch's 7th year. So that's any time between this time and date and this time and date. So that means not you, not you, not you. You shouldn't even be here. And to make things, frankly, simpler for me, we're going to do this in no particular order. I've got the list right here, and I'm going to randomize it now. There's the list. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Starting things off, we have We Love Katamari REROLL plus Royal Reverie, and I love We Love Katamari REROLL plus Royal Reverie. This game is off the wall, unexpected, does some ridiculous stuff, but it's just an incredibly good time. Your objective is to roll things around and make your Katamari bigger, and sometimes it's a person who wants to gain weight to become a sumo champ, sometimes you need to create just like a big ball of sweets. It's not consistent, but it's consistently fun. This is an easy entry on this list. Plus, you got the Royal Reverie stuff, and that is also good, if a little bit short, but it doesn't mean that the base game isn't still absolutely fantastic. Moving on, we have Persona 5 Tactica, the only instance where I agree with the chibi art style. Because yes, it is easier to see the characters. Persona 5 is an incredible game, and although this isn't that, it is distinctly its own spin-off, it's hugely enjoyable and has got masses of replayability. If you hadn't guessed from the title, and from seeing what's on the screen, it's a tactics game, who'd have thought it? It bears quite a lot of parallels with stuff like Mario vs. Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope and all that sort of thing, which means if the tactics genre usually puts you off, this should be a little bit more accessible for you. It's no Final Fantasy Tactics, it's a lot more accessible, and it's got a killer soundtrack. What more could you want? Moving on, we have the Nintendo Direct surprise reveal. Yes, it's Pentiment. You ever fancied solving a murder mystery in a Bavarian art style? Because, well, that's what this game is. It appears very simple on the face of it, but the more you get into this game, the more that things start to blossom and evolve, and you'll see an incredible amount of world building here as well. The 16th century Bavarian art style isn't just for show either, it actually feeds back into the gameplay in some interesting and clever ways. The writing is ultra sharp, performance is perfect in handheld and in docked mode. There's basically nothing to dislike about this game apart from, well, PJ complained about the maps. That's something, but apart from that, faultless. Next up, we have Quake II, the sequel to Quake. This is the quintessential boomer shooter. When it was a new game back in the 90s, it evolved what Doom had set in place and brought everything screaming into the third dimension. Because yeah, if you didn't know, the original Doom, technically not a 3D game. Weird. And what we have on Switch is a perfect version of the classic game. But more than that, it comes with a whole host of additional lovely goodness. You've got online multiplayer, you've got new campaigns, and it's the new campaigns that are a real highlight for me, because they really show what you can do with a game like Quake and end up playing things in ways that you never would have anticipated. It even includes the playable demo from when it was first revealed, which is just mind-boggling. It's incredible for video game preservation, and even if you feel you can't quite look past the dated graphics, I implore you to give it a go anyway. I am very certain you won't be disappointed. Moving on, we have Quake II, which answers the question that we've all had over the years. What would happen if the ball from Pong escaped? And I've got to be honest, that concept alone is enough to sell me on this game. I mean, it's just so simple, so, you know, sort of, oh, what if it escaped? But it ends up being this wonderful, dynamic experience as a result. It's so wonderful when a simple idea manages to blossom into something so substantial and so lovely. It may not be for everyone, but if you're into that older style of gameplay, I'm sure you'll find plenty to love here. Next up, we have Sea of Stars. Now, there's loads of other games out there that are trying to revitalize the turn-based RPG genre, and many of them are succeeding, but I don't think any have succeeded quite as well as Sea of Stars. Interestingly, this is a follow-up, or, well, technically kind of a prequel to a game called The Messenger, which you wouldn't necessarily immediately know, and you'd be forgiven for not knowing, but it plays nothing like The Messenger at all, which you probably could have got from the fact that it's a turn-based RPG game. Just ask anyone who's played it though, this game is an absolute triumph. It's gorgeous, the gameplay is delicious and sort of, again, simple but really effective. There's so much to love here. If you're into your turn-based RPGs, you've got to give this one a go. Moving on, we have Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which is an irritatingly long name, but the game's good. This is a super faithful recreation of the original Advance Wars and Advance Wars 2, which are arguably the best games in the series. The series, which I think technically started with Famicom Wars, it's complicated. It's all too easy for these remakes to lean too heavily on the original art style or to try and sort of bring things too much up to date, but I think they've managed to absolutely nail it with this one. You know it's worked well when you look at it and you go, hey, isn't that always how it looked? And then you go back and look at the original and you go, oh, no, it was about 1/10 the resolution. Technically, this is tactical turn-based RPG gameplay, but it's also, as much as anything, kind of a puzzle game. You gotta survey the land, you gotta know how to use your units and get the most out of them that you can, because they're often limited, and you've gotta know when to use the power of money, which is always. Next in line, we have Pocket Card Jockey Ride On, a re-release of Pocket Card Jockey that was originally stuck on the 3DS, and now it's on Switch, and you can tell it was designed for a touchscreen. But that does not work against it. This is still a fantastic game, and do you know what it is at its core? It's flippin' solitaire. How did they manage to make solitaire this exciting? You gotta maintain your stamina, you gotta get your horse in the right position, you got the mad rush at the end, and all the while, you're gonna be playing solitaire. It doesn't sound great, but honestly, in practice, it is utterly addictive. And it was made by Game Freak, so you see, they can make good games. Next up, we have Outer Wilds, and I apologize in advance if I ever refer to it as The Outer Wilds. This is a game where you've got to explore a solar system in order to break a time loop that keeps happening over and over again. I mean, that's kind of expected for a time loop. And it is finally on Switch. It was announced bloody years ago, and then we heard nothing, and then suddenly, blah, it's out on Switch. That was a fun surprise. What I love about this game is that the game just hands everything to you and says, you work it out, and yet it's still not difficult to get into. That's a really hard thing to get right. It has to be said that performance is not perfect on Switch, and if you've got other consoles, then that may be a preference for you, but if Switch is all you've got, you're still going to get the full Outer Wilds experience here. Nothing's been taken out, it's the whole thing right here, right now. Go and play it. Next up, we have Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now, I was originally a little bit dubious about this because I don't wish to be rude. It's an Ubisoft game and I've been burnt in the past, but not this time. This game is fantastic. If you like your Metroidvanias, you are gonna have so much to love here. It is so classic in so many ways, and it can also be really flipping hard, and this is a game that has custom difficulty, and that is something that I always love, because sometimes I don't want the full, maximum difficulty, but I also don't want the medium difficulty, so I like to pick and choose. So, top marks there. Even though all the dialogue can be a little bit iffy here and there, I love the design of Sargon and the way that he moves and everything. It's just a really satisfying game to play, and fantastic if you're looking for a bit of challenge. You know, 2D games aren't dead. This proves it, as does so many others. My god, they're not dead. Next up, this also proves that 2D games aren't dead, Blasphemous 2. This is another Metroidvania. But Metroidvanias are good. I won't hear a word against them. And this one deserves special praise because depending on what weapon you take at the start, that can affect how you go through big chunks of the game. It doesn't change everything, obviously. That would be mad. But the different weapons at your disposal allow you to do different things, and so the one that you choose at the start really affects how you go through the game and affects how you have to solve various challenges. It's really nice, but don't worry, you get the other weapons later on. It's all good. It's tough though, it really is. I mean, it's fairly generous with things like checkpoints as long as you remember to use them, because you gotta do that. The checkpoints are very similar to the bonfires in Dark Souls, so you can rest there, get all your health back, but oh no, all the enemies are back. It's standard, but it works. Its visuals are gorgeous as well. There's just so much to love about this game. I need to go back and complete it. I've done most of it, I just haven't completed it. Maybe I'll do that tonight. Oh, wow, you're just over halfway through the video. It's a biggie, isn't it? A lot to take in. Use this opportunity to have a small break, or if you're mad or just impatient, stick around. We're going to do the rest now. Pikmin 4. I cannot believe the Nintendo managed to turn around what is now the best game in the Pikmin series after I've been so hell-bent on saying that the first one's the best. I can't in good conscience say that anymore because this is fantastic. Taking everything that I've loved about the Pikmin franchise and adding in Ochi, a dog that I thought was going to be overpowered as hell, but no. You need Ochi, my friend. You need Ochi when you get to some of those later challenges. But what challenge! It's so satisfying to have in a game like this. And yeah, when you get it down, you know, sort of you can kind of breeze through some things, and I emphasize on some things. But the way this game tests you in so many different ways is just so rewarding, and it's gorgeous, and the new camera perspective is weirdly... Like, I wouldn't have thought that that would work, but it does. It works brilliantly. And you got the new Pikmin as well. You got the Ice Pikmin, which are fun. You got the Glow Pikmin as well, which really change up how you do things and use them on night expeditions. Oh, it's just... There's so much to this game. You would not expect this game to be this big, but it is. Can't sing its praises enough. Pikmin 4... Yeah! Another fantastic one. We've got Super Mario RPG. What am I talking about? All the games on this list are fantastic. I'd only ever really played the original Super Mario RPG super briefly. I think on the Wii U, I want to say, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But this now is easily the way to play it for me, and what a game. In some ways, I mean, it's aged quite a lot, but in other ways, some of the design and everything is still so solid. Even though it's technically aged, it works so well it doesn't matter. All in all, it's just a good, fun RPG that isn't too long, and that's very good for me these days. But more than that, it's got all these little details as well, these little things that just make it pop and really, really special. Things like the fact that Mario doesn't say a word, so that when people talk to him, he just acts out what's happened, and everyone seems to get it straight away. I mean, it's kind of a limitation of the time. I mean, they could have just given him a text box, but that's nowhere near as much fun. It's just a delight. It looks fantastic. It has a few little drops here and there in terms of performance, but nothing that ruins the experience. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Next up, we have Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. And I'm gonna slightly annoy some people, I'm afraid, when I say that I can't really talk about this one that much. I've had to do this before when mentioning it in videos. Because the best way to play this game is to go in as blind as possible, and I don't want to take that experience away from you. It's an old DS game that they've souped up to be on Switch, and as a result it's got big black bars, but they kind of need to be there, and it's got all these puzzles. I'm really trying not to say more. If what you've seen of the gameplay intrigues you, I encourage you to pick this up. That is all I'm going to say on the matter. Next up, we have Cocoon. Now, this is a puzzle game that broke my brain. In many ways, it's a very low-key game, allowing you to take on the puzzles in your own way, in your own time. But at the same time, you're going to have to do some serious lateral thinking in order to get out of the various situations you find yourself in. You have these orbs, right? And you can carry them around, and then you can set them down in these pedestals, and then you can dive in, and there's a whole world in there. And you can take orbs into the world, so you can carry worlds within worlds. And sometimes you can find another way to enter a world, so you can carry a world into itself, and it is amazing, though. There is no text in the game apart from the title screen and the pause menu. That's the only text, and I suppose the credits. The game just presents everything to you so naturally. It is entirely show, don't tell, and that is very difficult to do, and it does it perfectly. Next up, we have Vampire Survivors, the simple game that nobody can put down. This is technically a roguelike, but realistically, it's more of a sort of a time vampire. If you start playing this game, you will not be putting it down, but you will have an enormous smile on your face, so that's always a bonus. More importantly, it's even better with friends. Well, maybe it depends on how nice your friends are and how well you get along with them, but even so, it has the potential. The game can struggle on Switch a little bit when things get really hectic, but by that point, a lot of the visual information is noise anyway, so you'll be okay. F-Zero 99. It makes so much sense when you say it out loud, but I didn't know I wanted this. At first, the idea of playing F-Zero with 98 other players sounds like absolute hell, but due to the little tweaks and changes they've done in order to make it work with that number of people, this ends up being one of the best mass multiplayer games available on Switch. It is just spectacular. Unfortunately, it's not as populated as it used to be. Maybe this video will give it a bit of pep, maybe. Oh, that'd be good. But recent updates to the game have brought in new game modes that don't necessarily require 99 players, which is only a good. Better yet, it's free if you have Nintendo Switch Online, so if you've got Nintendo Switch Online, download this immediately, or I'll come around your house and stamp on all your toys. Next up, we have Dave the Diver. Now, if you've got an entrepreneurial spirit about you, maybe don't play this game. Because I swear you're everybody's bloody dog's body. You know, you gotta go down, you gotta catch fish in order to make sushi. Oh, you're not doing the sushi, it's like the one thing you don't do. But then they expect you to serve all the customers and do all the odd jobs and everything like that. And you know what? It's an absolute delight. There is so much to this game, it's almost a little bit overwhelming. And better yet, there is a demo available on Switch as well. In fact, that's what you're looking at right now, all of this in the demo. There's only one price better than free when it comes to video games, and that's being paid to talk about them, but I'm afraid I've got that all wrapped up. So just download this one instead. Oh, we're getting towards the end now, and we're slightly bending the rules here. Pikmin 1+2, technically they're 2 games, but technically, I don't care. I adore the first Pikmin game, Something Rotten. The only reason I haven't played it more throughout my life is because it's kind of been stuck on the GameCube and Wii, and I'm gonna be controversial here. I don't like the Wii controls. I'm sorry, I just don't. But now it's on the Switch and it works beautifully, and okay, yeah, it's technically a bit of a basic port, but you know what? I don't care. I just don't care. And you got Pikmin 2 here as well, which I'd never played before it came to Switch because it was kind of rare. Well, it wasn't rare, but you know, I never bought it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Pikmin 2 is a very different game to the first one, but it complements it beautifully. And to have them both available on Switch is just absolutely wonderful. And you can get it physical. That's why it's one entry, because it's on the same cartridge. There. I justified it. Oh, yes, it's Super Mario Bros. Wonder. You knew this one had to be here. Honestly, after the slight sort of tedium and boredom I had with the new Super Mario Bros. Series, this is the kind of breath of fresh air that I never expected we would get. Always hoped, but never really expected, and certainly not this generation. Don't get me wrong, it's still a 2D Mario game through and through. They're not, you know, breaking the mold or anything here, but what a 2D Mario game. My god, the Wonder Flowers add so much variety to the gameplay, and at first you sort of think, oh, it's just sort of making things move about, but no. You keep going and you will see some crazy stuff. I don't often get the chance to complete games to 100% these days, but this game, I did 100%. I think 3 days after it came out, but admittedly I did have a head start. If you've ever enjoyed a 2D Mario game and you've got a Switch, get this game. It is as simple as that. And finally, what did you expect? What did you expect? Of course, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. My god, what a game. The build-up for this was so monumental, and I know that there are some people who think that Breath of the Wild is better, maybe a purer experience. Those people, I don't know whether you've actually gone back to play Breath of the Wild, but now it just feels basic, baby. That was a bit rude. Tears of the Kingdom is one of the most inventive, one of the most original, and just one of the most downright lovely games I've ever played. And yes, it's true, Breath of the Wild was more revolutionary, this is more evolutionary, but you know what? What an evolution. The Ultra Hand, the depths, the return of Ganondorf, it's just so... Oh, it's just so wonderful. If you've been holding out on this for whatever reason, maybe you think it's not a real Zelda game, or, you know, you prefer the old linear style, I say throw those ideas in the bin and give it a go. I would be very, very surprised if you were disappointed, unless you went in specifically to disappoint yourself, but then again, I can't control that. And there you have it. Those are, in our opinion, the finest games on the Nintendo Switch that have come out in its 7th year. Did we miss something important? Is there a game that you absolutely loved from the past 12 months? Let us know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you have an existential crisis with that subscribe button? Trust me, it'll comfort you. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. About time they gave up on the OLED and came out with a Nintendo Switch OLED.